Jambo and welcome to the No Work Podcast. My name is Lilian Nganga. This podcast is about exploring our side when we are not working because we attach so much identity to who we are in terms of our profession that we forget to live life and enjoy. So these sessions that I'm going to be having here are about just bringing out people's easygoing side, and then we see where it ends up. Karibuni sana. Jambo and welcome to the No Work session where I have guests come here and we try to find out who they are when they are not working. Today's guest is somebody who is used to being the interviewer, but I'm already feeling the pressure. Eric LATIFF, a dear friend of mine. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Lilian. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
So this is what you do when you're not working?
Part of. I do many things, but this is part of what I do when I'm not working.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the idea is I feel work takes so much of who we are as a people. And it's good because at the end of the day, you have to fend for your family, for yourself. But I'm always so curious to find out who people are when they're not working, you know? We have been friends for many years. We always talk about different things, but I'm actually excited to have this session where I find out what you do when you're not working, you know? But of course, work makes a big part of who we are, as I said. So tell us, who is Eric LATIFF? The man with the great voice.
So broadly, I'm a journalist by practice. I'm currently doing very many things in that front. Key among them, I host the Situation Room on Spice FM on weekday mornings. I also run a communications consultancy. It's called Zaza Digital, where we offer communication services to corporate clients. We also do media training. We run campaigns for clients and so on and so forth, including production, and basically just putting together conversations that a client would like their audiences to get. Then I also do event moderation. So you have a conference, you'll see the person who comes there to be sort of like an MC, but we've been working towards elevating that and moving it from just being somebody who comes and says the next person in the program is so and so and trying to run a tight ship, into working with a client from the very beginning of, I want to have an event and this is what I'd like to achieve out of it. And then I use my experience in all these years of doing the same thing and in communication to now advise, maybe you can tweak the program this way so that it's more engaging and you get what you want out of it. So that's what I do. That sounds like 24 hours, right?
Yeah. Now.
So the day is over. Right?
Working. Now, we have been friends for long and we met when you used to work at Capital.
Yep.
You know? So I've always been curious. I don't think I've ever asked you where the love started. Does it come from your family lineage or is it just something you figured out as you were growing up?
I figured it out as I was growing up.
Okay.
Pretty early on in life, I got to a point, I think, I always said, I think I was around 10 years old, when out of just consuming radio and getting very interested in what was happening on radio behind that box, I wanted to do that thing.
But what triggered the interest? I mean,
Just
you're 10 years.
Just listening to the radio,
The
hearing.
voice coming from the radio.
Yeah, I mean, the various announcers on radio, news readers on radio, and the entertainment. And I used to feel, they really sound like they're having a lot of fun.
There's a pull. Yeah, you're being pulled. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about your voice?
I hadn't broken my voice, obviously, at 10.
Okay.
There was no connection between me knowing that this is what they do and whether they have broken voices or not. I think I broke my voice in my teenage, obviously. And even then, I did not know the requirements, or one of the selling points in broadcasting would be a voice. Until later, when I was interacting with those who were there, and they'll be like, that voice.
Yeah.
You can actually do this. And I was like, really? I didn't know I had a voice for radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you'd feel like the radio is pulling you, what did you do about it when you're 10 years old?
I harbor an ambition. That's what you do at that age. You harbor an ambition. And this is what, when they ask you what would you like to do when you grow up, that's what I'd say. I'd like to be a broadcaster. I'd like to be a broadcaster. So in high school, I would say the same thing. I'd like to be a broadcaster. I cleared high school and I'd tell it to my relatives, I want to be a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And I found my way. I looked and found the way into broadcasting. And I took myself there.
Your parents, were they okay with you saying, I want to be a broadcaster when I grow up?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah,
Because I feel like most parents want you to become a doctor, they want to become a pilot. Because when these kids, when they're done with their exams, KCSE, even KCP, what do you want to do when, doctor, I want to become an engineer, these big, quote, quote, big things.
Yep.
So your parents were okay when you said you want to...
Yep. Well,
Fantastic.
my mom was okay. Should say, okay, just pursue what you want to pursue. I'm not entirely sure how she took it when...
Her understanding.
Yeah. I mean, what she thought that would be, whether it would be, in my spare time, I'll be a broadcaster. But I think she had an understanding of what it meant because she was friends with Fredo Bachimachoka. Okay. And one of the reasons why, of course, I was also hooked onto that is because when Fredo Bachimachoka would be broadcasting and she'd be like, I know that guy, he's my friend, we worked together. And I'd be like, Yani, she even knows someone who does this thing, So she had an idea of what broadcasting is from just knowing Fredo Bachi. And so I think she knew that I will then not be a doctor, an engineer, lawyer. I'll be this thing. Now, whether that thing means that you first go and study medicine and then you end up doing this, I don't know, her thinking about it. So when I found out how you do it, and I found out that there's a college that trains people in media, and it's called KIMC. And I went back and I told her, so I found out where the college is, and this is where she was like, okay, so there's a place that you go and learn. Well and good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have any of your siblings in the same industry or very varied?
No, they're varied. So I have two siblings, an elder brother and a younger brother. And, none of them has, ever demonstrated any keen interest in broadcasting or in journalism. Yeah.
What about the voice? Because you have a great voice.
What about it?
I mean, your siblings, is there any that has similar, close... or probably not even your siblings. I mean, your family, uncles.
In the broader family.
Yeah, family.
Yeah. There's some cousins who.
Okay.
Who have the same. Yeah. My brothers not so deep, but I've got some cousins actually who do have. Yeah. Who do have.
So it's in the family.
Maybe.
Yeah, it is in the family. When you look back somebody somewhere, How has it been? Working in the media industry in Kenya specifically for so long?
Because I wanted to do it. So me, I've just been enjoying myself. So it's been a fun ride. I've done it now for 27 years, and it's been fun throughout. I wouldn't say there's any single moment, not day, moment in time. When I sat back and I thought, oh, God, what did I do?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
What do you mean by fun?
Fun is, I thrive. I enjoy doing whatever I'm doing. So I've done various things in media. In KIMC, I studied broadcast engineering. Now, I enjoyed it for a bit, but not much because, it wasn't putting me in the broadcast seat. Okay. So I was like, Then when I started working, I would do a bit of presenting and producing. And producing here is handling the technical side, like putting together, so recording somebody and putting together, a program, a promo, an advert, just mixing it all up, playing around with the sounds. And I loved it. And then I was at the same time, I worked in programming. designing a program, listening and saying, this is the sound of this radio station. So this is the music that we play. This is the song that plays at this point in the day. This is the kind of presenter that we have at this time, and training that presenter and showing the presenter what to do, and just designing the programs. Then I went into news, and news is news reading and news editing, and I enjoyed that as well. I did management, I did training, I did consultancy. I've done consultancies where, I've designed radio stations and helped to set up radio stations and TV and it's all of that. It's all been fun.
Yeah.
Every new thing, it's a new challenge, and I love the challenges.
I've always noticed that in the West, let me just say the West, the people who do, for example, CNN, we always find the reporters, the people who are presenting the news are older people. Anchors, yeah. And I feel Kenya people just come so fast and move along, So is it an aspect of people don't feel it's a career you can hold on, or there's something that probably you're missing from my point of view?
It's a good observation, and it's true. Because if you look at these big media houses, you'll find that they have old hands in it. In journalism, whether it's a reporter, a news producer, a news anchor, even on the technical side, you'll find people who've worked in this space for many years. Now, media in Kenya is still a nascent industry. It's still very young.
How can it be young?
It's still very young. So we if you think about what we've known as media, for a very long time we had one broadcaster, and that's VOK, KBC, right? And VOK, KBC, if you think about it, in those old days, the people would still stay until they were old.
Yeah, Kasavuli, and then
you'd find they are in it, and they're in it for long. Leonard Mambo Motela, all those years, and they stayed in it, And then now you started seeing this emergence of new media houses. And because the pool was small from KBC, now there were new people who were getting into these news stations. Say KTN came up, and then NTV came up, and the Family TV came up, and and all these ones. So they were now tapping into fresh and younger talent, because the pool of the older talent was limited. And so it's still a very young industry, and it's still trying to grow, to compete. So the older people, the KBC people, stayed on for a while, moved on to these other stations, Njoroge Mwaura, Catherine Kasavuli, and others. Others stayed in KBC, moved into management, left. The culture in Kenya is you grow by growing up the ladder in the organogram, not just doing the same thing. And so there's still that pressure from these young people. I want to be a manager. You know? And because I want to be a manager.
A good thing and a bad thing.
Not necessarily, because you want to be a manager, then you stop doing what you are doing, right? So these people that we know, for example, if you just think about the younger people who came up now when the KTNs were coming up, think about the reporters that we had then. If you think about them, Christine Ngoko, Solomon Mugera, and then into the later 90s, you started seeing Linus Kaikai into the 90s, Emmanuel Juma. As they're growing up in the organogram, then they stop doing what they're very good at. So, you see, that's the culture that we have. But as these people are increasing, then I think by and by we'll get into the CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera levels. ABC, CBC, and where someone stays where they're good at.
You think so?
Yeah, because
that would be nice to see also.
You're really a good reporter. And removing you from the field is not serving you. It's not serving the audience. It's not serving the media house. It's not serving the station. That is now because you've been put into a corner office and you've been made managing editor. But you're not even a good manager. You are a good reporter. You can sniff a story from far, and you can tell that story so well. Then you've been put into a corner office, and you're struggling with just all management. Reports, it's not your thing. And that, you see, that's the only way you can get more money. The company tells you now, for us to give you more money, we give you more responsibility, because they think the same. Responsibility is equals management. But you see, a reporter can still do a very, very good thing. Emmanuel Juma could still be out there reporting and telling us very good, giving us very good stories. Jeff Koinange is still anchoring. Jeff Koinange is not managing editor, managing director of a media house.
Yeah.
He's still doing what he loves to do, and he's good at it. His show has a following. He's older than many of his peers in that newsroom.
Yet he's so good in what
But
he does.
he is good at what he does. And that's the best thing, that he wasn't removed from what he knows best and what he's very good at, to being made now to sit in an office, and all you're doing is signing people's leave.
Yeah. And firing people,
And
hiring
firing
and
people,
firing.
and doing disciplinary meetings. Why did you insult this one?
Yeah, those can be so boring.
Yeah.
There's a common occurrence that happens in Kenya where somebody becomes popular for whatever reason, then the next thing they're hosting a show on radio. What do you think about that? Because I always feel, fine, you've done something, we've gotten to know you, you're popular, you're good in whatever you're doing, but are you really cut out for such positions, to host a show in the morning, Kiss 100 or Capital, whatever. What do you think about that?
It's a mix. Because there are people who, depending on what this thing you're going to do is, if it's purely, if it's strongly driven by entertainment, and you're a very good entertainer, then it's a fit for you, If a show is more information and newsy, and you are an entertainer, a comedian, and you don't really have a rib for news, then it's not a perfect fit for you.
Yeah.
And the audience will tell you. The audience will not tune in. The management will see, okay, this thing is not working, and so you'll not last. So the ones that you see lasting, it's because there's been a fit, and the audience actually resonates with the content. It's always about the audience.
Okay. Yeah. The vernacular radio stations, what's their impact in society?
Huge.
Huge, right?
Yeah.
But I think most people don't know that.
It's huge.
Yeah.
They always say, and I remember when I started working in Vernacular, if you speak to somebody in their language, you're speaking to their soul.
You're connecting.
You're connecting.
Yes.
And Kenya and Africa mostly is a continent where people are multilingual. You're multilingual because your first language is the vernacular language in many cases. So like, for example, let's say in Kenya, a typical Kenyan will have 4 languages. Just a typical
Yes.
4.
Yeah. Like
Mother
that's a
tongue.
standard, yeah.
Yeah, they'll have a mother tongue, they'll have Swahili, they'll have English, and they'll have another one that they've acquired. Either another vernacular or another international language, or or they'll have 3-4 languages. Go to the West, the guys only have 1 language, and the ones who have learnt and acquired a second language, they have that second or third or fourth language. But a typical Kenyan starts the race at 3 languages. So you've got to think, those languages, the vernacular is a key component of who we are.
True.
And it connects us back to our roots. It's a language that you spoke at home. It's a language that, you speak when you have family gatherings. It's a language that defines who you are. It's a language of your soul. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's always the discussion of, some parents, probably modern parents, they don't want to teach their kids Kikuyu. Like I'm Kikuyu, and my son is Luo and Kikuyu. So he has to know both languages without a doubt. He has to understand, hear, and speak both.
By hook or crook.
He has to. So I think people feel like, I just want to teach him English, And then when he goes to school, they're going to be taught in English. So that comes automatically.
There's a lot that happens like that. And especially with the younger urban children, urban parents, urban children. So urban parent. And in many cases, by the way, it's not by design. All right. So you find, for example, a homestead like yours, you and your husband don't speak vernacular because your Kikuyu is Luo. So, I mean, at what point are you, is he going to talk to you in Luo and then
I also need to learn
you
Luo.
respond, So by the time you guys are handling this, there's a child here who is, so the language that you communicate with each other is the language that the child picks.
Yeah.
And unless you are completely deliberate, you'll find that this child will then grow up with this language that you guys use, which
You
is
have to be
English,
intentional.
Swahili.
Yeah.
So if you're intentional, then you spend time teaching the other vernacular languages. So you'll find that. And then they grow up and, I mean, they know, yeah, I'm Luo plus Kikuyu, I'm Kamba, I'm Luya, I'm this and the other. We go to Shags, these guys speak, I pick up 1 or 2 words. And I'm like, well, it's just too difficult. So one of the things that the child will do is they will try to compensate it by saying, these are Shags languages. I mean, that's why I don't speak it. But deep down, they're feeling, okay, when we go to Shags, I'm not comfortable because these guys are speaking a language and I'm left out. But the child is not able to express it. When this child then gets out of this culture and goes into a different culture, say they go to study abroad, and they are in a multicultural space. There are people who are, Spanish, they speak Spanish. They're Italians, they speak Italian. They're Portuguese, they speak Portuguese. And then maybe there's some Africans and they're speaking their local languages. And this child is like, so what do you guys speak in Kenya? English and Swahili.
Yeah.
But this Tanzanian is speaking a different language.
Yes.
There's a Swahili and there's something else that these Tanzanians are speaking. What is yours? That's what they start
You must
feeling.
have yours.
That's when they start feeling, I mean, I missed out on that. And it's happening. It's tough. It's life.
Yeah. I grew up in the village and, you go to some school called Ushago. So from class 1 to class 3, we had Kikuyu as a subject.
The language of instruction is Kikuyu.
It was Kikuyu.
Yeah.
And you have exams, So I speak very good Kikuyu. I struggle with I could write, but I speak good Kikuyu. Reading, I can read, but pole pole, because Kikuyu can be a bit complicated when it comes to reading. Now, radio, TV, and social media, are they competing? Is radio and TV being replaced by social media? Because for now we have TikTok, which I feel for some reason, everybody has TikTok, even deep in the village. So if you want to spread whatever information you want to spread, do you use radio? Do you use social media?
So let's look at it this way. If you think about radio as a gadget and TV as a gadget, then what gadget is social media? So discard the gadgets. Think about audio, visual. So radio is the medium that uses audio. TV is a medium that uses visual. Audio, visual. So then social media comes in and uses text, audio, visual. So it brings in newspaper, magazine, TV, radio, film, all those things together into one. Is this thing competing with these others? No, it's not. It is enhancing them. So you'll find that if you concentrate on thinking of the gadget, people may reduce, their purchase of this box called a radio.
Okay.
They may reduce the purchase of that box, but they'll not reduce the need to have audio content. Now, the method of delivery of that audio content is what is now expanding.
The reach. Okay.
So you have a gadget, a mobile phone that is now carrying audio content, or you may have this thingy called a radio that is also carrying audio content, or remember the days of the Walkman and the CD, and all those. One could have argued that the CD and the Walkman are replacing radio. They didn't. They were just other medium of delivering audio. One could have argued that the VCR was replacing TV. you're still using TV, but did you stop watching TV? No. So it is just another medium of delivering audiovisual. So I find that social media is just another medium of delivering text audiovisual. Maybe faster, maybe in a different way. So you can move radio into social media.
But does it have a wider reach?
What, social media?
Yeah.
Yes.
It does, huh?
Yes. You see, because it's not... the terrestrial radio is limited to the terrestrial capacity. By that I mean, when you go tune to radio and you're like, okay, so this is 94.4 Spice FM in Nairobi, and when you go to Nakuru, it's 96.0, and you go to these other places, 90 different. That means that there's a transmitter in Nairobi that's doing 94.4. There's a transmitter in Nakuru that's doing 96.0. If you go to a place that does not have a transmitter, then you're not listening to Spice FM.
You're not connected.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're not connected to Spice. But internet connectivity has spread and it has grown. And in Kenya, internet connectivity is pretty high. And with the continued investment in digital, the superhighways and all, then internet connectivity is going to grow, which means you don't have to think of investing in a transmitter to actually get that content. So you can still get the audiovisual content wherever. Wider reach, yes.
Interesting. Now, you have conducted many interviews over your career. Is there one that you'd say has stood out?
It's always the last one.
The last one you conducted?
It's always the last interview you conducted stands out.
Yeah.
I think, so I could say yes, the last... Every interview has its own connection and meaning and all. There are some then that are wider because of the audience that's interested in that topic. For example, on Spice FM, every day we have 3 interviews every day. So if we have a health conversation and there are people who will be following that health conversation, they'll be interested in it. If you have a minister and there are more people who are interested in hearing them. If it also depends what's the current trending topic that is bringing everybody together. So for that reason, then I'd say the last interview that we did with the president in State House at the height of the protests, then that stands out. Because that was connecting with the entire country, because the whole country was gripped.
And we were all watching.
Yes, and everybody was watching because everybody wanted to see,
yes,
so where are we heading as a country? Yeah. And so that one, because it had a wider audience and a longer tail, then that had high impact.
Yeah. Just picking up from that, probably like brief comments about the freedom of speech that now we're enjoying in Kenya. How has been the progress? You know, because I watched the interview and I was like, hey, you guys are just drilling this guy, asking him direct, which was very nice. But I think you wouldn't have done that. It wasn't possible probably with Moi. You'd have be given questions to ask. Follow this script. Don't go outside, otherwise.
Probably. And so I first want to comment on the Moi bit. The one person who had a one-on-one interview with Daniel Arap Moi was John C.B. Okumu.
Okay.
John C.B. Okumu got this one interview. He was at KTN. They did the interview at the Grand Regency at the poolside. And it was the one. I mean, Moi had never sat for one-on-one conversation with any Kenyan journalists. It was, he's speaking to people. He's speaking to many. Pick what you're picking. I have said, I have gone, right? This was a question and answer. He had done foreign interviews, but Kenya, no. So John C.B. Okumu, we've asked him, how was it preparing for that interview? And he was like, I asked, is there anything I cannot ask? And I was told, ask.
Uliza.
Just ask, right? And when he sat down at that interview, he was not given a list of questions to ask. He wasn't told, you cannot ask this.
Very nice.
It was his own thinking of, and his editors at the point, let's ask these questions, they're relevant. And Moi answered. And there's no question that Moi said, I'm not going to, why are you
Very
asking me
nice,
that question? What, to our interview? Nothing. So it happened that way. Kibaki years.
And that was the only one ever.
That was the Moi interview.
Yeah.
John Sibio Kumu. In the Kibaki years, of course, then there was now more openness in media spaces, and it came from the very top. Kibaki, you guys go and talk. Right? He never granted interviews, but you talk if you want. Yes, it's okay. And we must acknowledge and appreciate where we are as a country. Because even after this interview that we did with the president, there were many journalists, people in civil society, people in the diplomatic corps who would reach out to me and tell me, this would never happen in my country. Not only in Africa, even in Europe.
Yes.
Like this wouldn't, there's no way. So credit to our presidents, including William Ruto.
Kabisa.
Who, and this one he said, come.
Yeah.
Sit down, ask.
It was very nice to watch, yeah.
And he threw his punches. He sat in there. He was answering the questions the best as he felt he needed to answer the questions. And he sat, and even after, shook hands, we took photos, and it was easy. There was no conversation following that interview that, you know what, those guys, make sure this thing does not repeat. Can you? Nothing. So credit to William Ruto.
Kabisa.
Credit to Uhuru Kenyatta as well, who was granted interviews.
Yes.
Even when he was complaining that, you know what, guys are insulting me on social media, and he left social media, he was still, of course, on social media. But it's just that his official account was deactivated. But credit to them. Because for that, we are where we are. We have a sense of freedom. Now, the other bit is that freedom comes with responsibility. And that's a higher responsibility that now we bear as members of the profession. We have to feel that this responsibility has to be exercised.
Yeah.
I cannot be unfair. I cannot be personal. I cannot
be biased.
Be biased.
Yeah.
I cannot spread falsehood. Right? I've got to remain factual. I've got to remain objective. That's the responsibility that now media and everybody has. Us guys who are in media, we exercise it because we are regulated, right? And also because of our training and our code of ethics and everything. And we have checks and balances.
Yeah.
So we stay in the straight and narrow. Other people don't have that. So you'll find people will just come up, and the spreading of social media and other digital media platforms that then brings other media practitioners who are bloggers and content creators and all. They feel that they are not regulated and controlled by this. Brings me to the point. It is because of that reason that mainstream media will still be relevant.
Yeah.
Because when you read something on social media, and it's something ridiculous, and you ask yourself, is this real? You want to go to the mainstream media
and
to see whether they've actually...
Yeah.
If mainstream media reports it, if Standard reports it, KTN, Nation, NTV, Citizen, K24, if they report it, then you're like, okay.
Yeah.
This one I believe.
I think the one we would believe what was being posted on the portal during the elections.
Yeah.
And not what we saw on other platforms.
Yeah.
You and probably one or two other people are usually picked for presidential debates. Why?
Not usually. There have been many.
Not
For
very
example,
many.
Yeah.
Okay, let's name them. Not like names, but 1, 2, 3. They can't even be 5.
The debates or interviews?
Like the high level.
The interviews. So you know what happens?
So, I mean...
I'll give you the example. This last interview was with 3 journalists, one from each media house.
Yeah.
And the media houses would select who they want to send. And the reason they'd use, for example, Royal Media Services sent its editorial director, who's a TV person, Linus Kaikai. Nation Media Group sent its editorial director, who is a TV person, Joe Ageo. Standard Group, its editorial director is not a TV person. The managing editor for TV He's not a broadcaster. The deputy managing editor, Ken Mijungu, was available, and I was available. And the station decided, let's send Eric. He does daily interviews, okay? And he did the presidential debate as well. But previous interviews have been done where Ken has done an interview, Ali Manzu has done interviews.
But it's the same people.
From the same media houses. It's the same. It's a pool of people. For example, at KTN, Ken Mijungu has interviewed the president. Ali Manzu has interviewed the president. Nation has had people who have interviewed the president. Citizen also has sent people to interview the president. So
But it's the same. The point is the same people who are always sent for this.
There have been 4 interviews, Lillian.
Not even just not for.
There have been 4
always
presidential
we see the
interviews with
same
William
people.
Ruto. William, 4.
So I think that just tells
In fact,
the quality you guys have is probably like a little bit above the rest, which is a good thing.
Well,
Probably experience.
it looks at, you're looking at what is this, then who do we want, what resources do we want to deploy, at whatever time.
Yeah.
And you're deploying the resources based on this, I think I'll get the best out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You run Zeze Digital. It's a comms agency. What does that entail?
So Zeze is a consultancy company. So we do by communication consultancy. I'll give you an example. So say an organization wants to come up with a communication strategy. So an organization will typically have its own strategy. Say it's a business strategy, strategic plan, 5-year normally strategic plan. And that strategic plan has then other components. One of the key components that it should have is to be accompanied by a communication strategy. How shall we communicate with our stakeholders? And stakeholders here will be everyone, from shareholders to board of directors, to regulators in government, to policymakers, to key customers, to people who supply you, to all those. So communication strategy now looks at, based on the strategic plan of the organization, how shall we engage with these stakeholders? So we put together, we help now the company to put together a strategy that addresses each of these stakeholders. Say, policymakers. What's the best way to address policymakers? You don't go mano in parliament as an organization. So how do you reach out to them? How do you engage with MPs and the minister in charge of the docket? How do you engage with the regulator? If it's customers and you want them to know this is what we're doing and we have developed a new service or a new product and our products are good in the market, how do you engage with them? There's the advertising bit and then there's the other bit, which is you want to connect with them more personally. And that's what is called the public relations. How do you connect with your customers so that they trust not the product, but the company that is producing the product? And they feel that if this company has produced this water, and then they come and tell me that they are now producing juice, I will believe the juice is authentic because I know and I trust the company. So we do such. That is one aspect, communication strategies. Sometimes that organization will say, so now we need someone to now come in and train our people on this strategy. So we train. A lot of the time, then an organization will want to engage with the people out there in the media. How do you engage with the media? People always fear, hey, I'm going for an interview. This media, people can ask you anything. So how do you prepare for a media interview? And that's a key aspect.
Actually, I should ask you, how do you prepare for such? When you're going to interview people?
When you're going to interview someone, you, of course, are looking at who they are, what's their area, their industry. So what are the relevant questions in this industry? What's in the public domain? What will be relevant to my audience? And ask them. You do not stop anywhere. If it is relevant to your audience that you ask, why does your water taste like it's been fetched from a river, you ask. People have been saying that your water tastes like it's been fetched from a river. You know? Now, the CEO who's coming for that interview also needs to prepare and know that I could be asked any question here.
Any question, yeah.
Say, there are various kinds of interviews. There's an interview where, it's a profile interview. You are interviewing a CEO and it's their story and how their story connects with the growth or the performance of their company. It's a bit more personal.
Yeah.
What's your style? What's your management style? All right, how do you deal with conflict in the office? How when you're not working, what are you doing outside of work? That kind of, you know those kind of interviews.
Yeah.
And then there is an interview which is now about the company or its product. So you've just released your results and you made a profit or a loss. So this is going to be on the performance. The interview is going to focus on the performance. Then there'll be another question that may come off left field that comes in and says, but people don't trust your water.
Yeah.
No wonder your numbers are dropping, So prepare and know what is out there about my company.
Yeah.
Another interview could be because of a crisis. That actually, KEBS went and recalled all your products in the market because they went and sampled and found your water has frogs in the bottle. Okay? And they've come there and have announced and said, we have recalled product X because it is unsuitable for human consumption. That is devastating to an organization. That's a crisis. Yeah. So how do you communicate in terms of a crisis like that?
Put out the fire.
Prepare as well. And each of them is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of now, part of what you do at Zeze Digital, what you do say is how are our adverts in terms of connecting with people? How are adverts in Kenya? How would you rate them? Because probably I'll get attacked for this, but I always feel like they're the same. Like people don't think outside the box. It's the same thing. Mafuta unapaka, whatever. And then if it's brushing, it's just the same thing. What about thinking outside the box? Like, present me something that I actually want to try. Like, oh my God, that sounds so cool. It looks so cool. Let me try it. If it's mafuta, it's what we do, of course. So, and then you understand. Yeah. So, thinking about the box, outside the box.
Think about the various approaches. So break down the audiences, all right?
Okay.
And the product. A product that is very niche and high level and it's communicating to a very well exposed and thinking audience will have a very different way of communicating from a product that is very mass market and it's talking to everybody. Okay? So if it is a product that is mafuta and it's a body lotion and it's for mass market, you don't want to start confusing people, but you drop off vitamin C and glycerin and then and then there's nowhere where you're showing someone doing this and then you're showing a face. There are people who look at that and wonder,
yeah.
You go into those ones which are very, very direct. Remember those Kimbo adverts?
Those were nice.
It is chapati. It is someone eating a chapati. There was nothing outside of the box. These chapatis are hard because you do not use this mafuta.
Is it Kimbo?
Yes. These chapatis were hard. And or the other ones of how you make your chapatis, koroga mviringo. And then this other Kikuyu woman comes and says, do you what? And then, it is very, very direct if you think about it.
But it sticks.
At that point, it was very relevant to you because you could see. At this point, the same advert, if it was done afresh, in the same way, you'd be like, surely.
It will pass me by.
Yeah.
Really? Because I think the adverts we had when growing up, even today we remember them, You remember them, kabisa.
Again, I tell you, it is where you are at in life.
Okay.
It's where you are at in life.
All right. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, have you done any training in public speaking?
Have I been trained in public speaking?
Yeah, have you done
have I trained people in public speaking?
No, have you been trained?
Have I been trained?
Yeah.
No.
Did you do that at all at some point?
Incidentally, no.
No?
It's well, you see, it's I could just say it's an acquired skill.
Okay.
And also part of it is the passion and the talent.
Okay.
You know, just like you'll find very good orators, politicians, you can just see a guy who is such a good orator. It's just inborn.
Yeah.
And there are people who then need a bit of training to get them to a certain
refine,
level,
yeah.
to refine. I haven't gone into any training session to be taught how to stand in public and to speak. And there are people who have done that, who, of course, pick out very many mistakes in what I do. You gesticulate too much.
Yeah.
You move around too much.
Yeah.
You lose eye contact.
Yeah.
You take your point for too long. You know, all those
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Interesting, because I'm trying to do that. Toastmasters.
Kina Toastmasters. Do it.
You know, like learn how to talk properly, articulate slowly, you know, all those things. But I think probably if it's a talent and it's inborn, that's a good thing. Moderating, does that also come naturally? Because I know
Again,
you do conference moderating as well.
It comes now. That is, again, another acquired skill.
Okay.
Because over the years, as you're doing broadcasting, as you're doing all this, then you know, and you're watching what's happening,
Yeah.
then you get to pick out, this is what you do, this is how moderating works. And you know, my job as a moderator is to be present, to understand what this event is all about. If I'm moderating, let's say, a panel discussion, I need to know who my panelists are, what's the topic, what do we want to get out of this particular interview. So it's an interview.
Yeah.
If you're running a program, you know we are tight on time. So how do I make people walk with me and work with me so that we can run the program nicely on time?
Yeah.
So it's a mix of all those things, knowing when to make people come with you, come along with you. It's like just sitting down. You are by yourself in a studio. It's only a mic, and you are, sorry, I hit the mic. Okay. You are speaking to a million people, but you can see none.
Yeah.
But each of them, wherever they are, because you always speak, in radio you speak to one person. Each of them, wherever they are, they're feeling like you're connecting. And when they call you, hey, Lillian, huyu ni nani rafiki yako sana?
Yeah.
And you've never met.
True. Yeah. Just a question that came to my mind. Do you enjoy radio or TV more?
I've always been asked that question. I'm a radio guy.
Okay.
So for me, TV is basically, I don't think about the cameras, everything, the drama. It's the talk. You know, it's talk, have a conversation. Whatever else is happening. Just like in radio, you're taught to not think about this mic.
Yeah.
It's on, switch it on, talk, forget about it.
Yeah.
Think about the person that you're talking to. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, you see, now we've spent a whole, I think, probably 1 hour, if not more.
We've done more than an hour talking about that. So what do I do beyond work? As you can see, there's
work.
Nothing else that I do.
There must be something. I know you do a lot of mentorship, so probably we can just talk about that.
So mentorship, actually, and I've been wanting to sort of formalize it a little bit. The way I do my mentorship is the way I was mentored. Someone approaches me and they want to talk to me, I always give them time. I'll try as much as possible to give them time, to listen to them. They may think that time is a day, but no, time is 2 minutes is enough to impact something. So that's the kind of mentorship. It's just advisory and talking to someone, and especially the young people. Since I started Zeze in 2016, I've done that. I have taken in young people and said, come walk with me. And as you're working with me, I'm guiding you. I'm saying, this is what you need to do. Think about this in your life. This is the work ethic that you need to develop. This is how you think.
Is it broad or now specifically for, what you do, comms?
So far it's just been, on what we do.
Okay.
But like I was saying, I've been thinking of how to expand it. And actually, my current protege, who's my assistant, Rose, and I have been working around taking it to universities and formalizing it and saying, we want to talk to university students and bring in, colleagues that can bring Lillian, come talk to these guys. They need to understand what life is.
Once I improve my speaking, Toastmasters, alafu nitakuja.
Once you've done your Toastmasters, you come. So we talk to people, the students, for example, at university, and it's not just university. It's we're using maybe a university or a TVET as the point, but it's bringing in the young people from wherever. Come in, let's talk about life, right? You're thinking about life, the reality of life, your expectations. That I am studying architecture, and the expectation is that I'll come out and I'll be the top architect in 3 months' time. This is the reality, and what then do you need to do? You can become the top architect in 3 months' time. It's possible. But that's the rare. The majority of you will not be top architects in 3 months' time. But what do you need to do to then become a top architect? If not in 3 months, in 3 years, in 30 years, whatever. What do you need to think about? How do you need to conduct yourself? And I think it's important, and people need that.
We've been seeing, I think it was just last month, not a few weeks ago, Standard was laying off people. So somebody who's doing their course in media journalism, how do you motivate them to continue with the same? Considering now guys are being laid off. And these are guys with experience. What happens?
It's the ups and downs. It's not just, so Standard will be laying off people in media today. Doctors have been trained, they're not being absorbed by the government. Teachers have been trained, they're not being absorbed by government or even the private institutions. The same. So it's the vagaries of a shrinking job market. And an economy that is not able to support growth. So that's what will happen. But these opportunities still, we'll tell them that you do not have to be employed by the Standard Group for you to practice journalism.
True.
Right? You can either be employed by any of the other media houses, or you can start your own content creation. But you have the training and you're thinking how to make money out of it, Or you can go to places that, have established small media outfits that can then absorb you and take you on. You can get out of the country. We speak English. We are sought after worldwide.
I think if you had a pillar where you train people about self-employment, would be good. You finish college, university, you can just start your work in digital advertising, digital marketing. You don't have now to start rushing to KTN and NTV.
I think that's one of those mentorship sessions is just bringing entrepreneurs who come and give their practical. You just want to hear this person decided to start this business. And the reality of it. Because right now you're just saying, hey, umse uza hizo nguo. Anaposting hivi kwa IG.
Sold. Sold.
You do not know what the journey to get to that level. And the frustrations and the crying and the self-doubt and the fear and the debt and point of auction, or even auction once, auctioned twice, and falling and rising. So you need to hear those stories, the real life stories of how someone actually went through it to know, I expect it. So when you get into it, you fail, well, see, even Lillian failed and she picked herself up. And Eric also dropped and he rose again. So, I mean, it's part of it. I'll just fall, come back up. This one worked. Don't hang on too long on this idea. It's not working. Kubali. Move on.
Try something else. Don't be disheartened. How is Latifah?
She's good.
She's good. Big girl now.
Yes, she's an adult. So Latifah is my daughter. 20 years old now, going on 21.
Already?
Yeah. Imagine.
Wow.
She's in
I think
university.
that we've been friends for a long time. Because I met you when she was a little girl.
Yep. For more than 15 years, right?
Yep.
And now that's the girl. She's an adult. She when she comes back, she'll be looking for employment. And I'll send her to you. I'm like, okay. And ongelesha Lillian. So She's doing well. She's studying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're not doing all these comms, media interviews, mambo ya
I
radio, TV? And
I
sleeping
sleep.
it's so important. It's essential.
I
How many hours do you do in the night?
You know, what's the advice? You do at least 7 hours a night?
About, yeah.
Okay. So in a typical weekday, I'll do 4.
Okay.
4 hours, 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're working from
Because
morning.
so my alarm goes off at 3:30. I've got to be in standard group by 5. So we're working on the show. We go on air from 6 to 10.
Yeah.
After 10, I now go into all these other things. There's a digital or moderating or an event or meetings, and they'll tend to run. And then they'll tend to go sometimes past 6, 7. So 6, 7 is when you're trying to slow down, having your dinner. You will not get to sleep immediately. Your brain is still active. So by the time you're falling asleep, it's go past 11, and then
you're already thinking about waking up again.
Yes.
Like the routine.
So when I get that moment, like on weekends,
Unalala.
yes,
But sleeping is so important.
I sleep.
Yeah.
Now, and I've told you this many times before, there are several things I'd like to do.
Okay.
One is I love, so when I'm not actually sleeping, when I'm not very tired.
When you've slept enough, maybe.
Yeah. Or sometimes during the weekday, I'll just sit and feel I'm not being productive, I'm not helping myself.
Okay.
I just want to get into my car and drive around.
Unaenda wapi?
So I'll just go. Okay. I'll find myself going and end up in Kitui and come back. I just drive. Or I'll decide I want to go towards this side. I'll head to Limuru and back.
Yeah.
So I'll go to Ngong and back, you know. But I'd like to do a bit more of that because I love road trips.
What do you love about the trips, the road trips?
Just that. I love driving.
I hate driving.
I love driving.
I hate it.
In fact,
with a
wherever
passion.
we are going somewhere and with a group of people,
you offer to drive.
I want to be the driver.
my
I'm
God.
a very bad passenger.
Yeah.
Horrible. Because even if I'm a passenger, I'm actually driving.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, so that guy.
Slow down.
Yeah, slow down.
Kaa kwa hii lane.
Overtake at this point.
Yeah.
Why this guy behaving like this?
Yeah.
So I'm driving while I'm a passenger. So I'm horrible. So I want to be the one who's driving.
Yeah.
And
I
guys,
hate driving
guys
so much.
like it
yeah.
because I'll be like, where are we going? We're going to Malindi. It's okay. I'll drive there. I'll drive back. I'll drive around.
Never.
I love it. So I'd like to do more of those. Just explore the country, explore the region. I see guys who do these kind of things, you know, just get into the vehicle and decide we want to go to Livingstone.
Zambia. All the way. Driving.
Cross
Never.
TZ, cross, go.
But I think
Take
the
number of days. My ultimate
Yeah.
one, and I've told my wife and my daughter, like this one, we must try and do at one point.
But you've also told me that many times. For
Many
many
times.
years. For many years.
Yeah.
Do you take leave, like from work, a month or so, weeks, 2 weeks?
A month.
A block?
I have never taken leave for like a month.
Okay.
Most I've done is
need to
maybe
start
two
from there
and a
then.
half weeks, right? Because the nature of work is you'll get a short window to go and you come back so that then somebody else also gets that window. But you have to, you'll find yourself, you need to be there, okay? So yeah, I'd like to get to a point where I can actually just take 6 weeks and drive all the way to Cape Town and back.
But are you doing anything towards that?
Or go to Cairo and back. Yes, I'm praying.
Hazitakusaidia. Maombi hazitakusaidia. I think you need actions.
Need action.
That way, you have a free 6 weeks at some point. Yeah.
Okay. Should I start by first of all creating the 6 weeks?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you've told me that many times.
I've told you that many times.
Yeah.
You need to try it. Traveling is so good.
It is.
You get to see many things. Because you
One
see,
day,
like this,
the day I start,
it needs to be
the
soon.
thing is,
It needs to be soon.
The other thing is that the moment I start, I will not stop. Okay? So I'm like, nikianza kusema ati now I'm doing Ginger and back. Next, I'll want to do Lake Kivu and back. Next, I'll say, all right, how about I go to the Blue Nile? or the place where the Blue Nile connects with the White Nile.
Yeah.
So how about that?
Yeah.
See, there's a road from here. So how can I get to Ethiopia? So I can get to Ethiopia. If I get to Ethiopia through Marsabit, and then I cross over, and I get to Addis, then I can find my way. That's it. I'm the kind of guy who will go for a year. Mtaniona next year.
But I think you're
I ended up in Australia.
I think you're stuck at procrastinating.
And
you procrastinate, things never happen. You just have to decide, nafanya, then you just do it.
Do it now.
Yeah. I think one of my superpowers is just I decide to do something. Nafanya. Sinanga ati, do I
and I admire you for that. I admire you for that.
Yeah, I just set my mind on something, I just do it.
For me, I'll want to do it. I'll draw up a plan, and then at the final moment, I'll now start overanalyzing and not move.
So, when would you like to take your first 6 weeks off? Alafu ndakuwa nakukumbusha. Wewe LATIFF.
Next year.
Next year when?
Next year.
Unajua iko mbali.
Yeah, next year summer. This is 2025 August. That's not very far. No.
Ndakukumbusha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the world is ending in the next 1 minute. How do you check out?
I just, cheers.
Yeah.
I did it my way. I'll just sit back and I'm like, okay, the minute's over. Okay. I didn't want it to end now. No, I think if this was it, I'd just sit back and be content and be like, I did it my way.
Like Trump.
Yeah, I did it my way. I messed up. I tried. I succeeded in some. I did not do some. I left so many things undone. I had many dreams. I impacted some people positively. I may have impacted some people negatively. I didn't achieve much. I achieved a bit. What I achieved was good enough. It was mine. I did it my way. Yeah.
Are you happy?
I am.
Okay. Fine. It has been great to have you on the show. And we hope to have you when you come back from the summer, the 6-week summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So September 2025.
Take some time, August, September. I'll probably call you in October, November.
October, November.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uniambie how it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Lillian. This has been fun. You're a good interviewer.
I'm glad, yeah?
Yeah.
Kujaribu.
You should do this more often.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Kujaribu. Okay, that's it.